A lot has changed since then. Things will never be the same again. As for me, I'm somewhere north of Montgomery, Alabama. I'm approximately 200 miles away from the new Ground Zero, Atlanta, Georgia, and 200 miles away from everyone I know and love. My name is Avi Geller. I'm a former journalist for a newspaper that doesn't exist anymore. My compatriots have given me a task. My mission? To track down Ethan Bennett and his crew and convince them to come with me to Atlanta, to help me liberate a group of survivors who desperately need help from something worse than the infected. Or die trying. Chapter 1. Maplesville, Alabama. You have got to be insane. Avi Geller glared at the man who stood in front of her, crossing her arms and shifting her weight to her left leg, scowling. Irritation and impatience rolled off of her in waves. She sized up the man's reaction, cataloging everything she knew about him and matching it to his words and body language. Ethan Christopher Bennett, 40 years old, 5'11", 170 pounds. Green eyes, blonde hair, former Memphis PD, and total hard-ass. The statistics rolled through Avi's brain easily. She'd spent weeks drilling them into her skull. Ethan Bennett had essentially become infamous in the year since everything had gone to hell. The word over the ham radio transmissions she and her colleagues managed to pick up suggested that he was one of the most effective leaders left in their area. Avi's cohorts agreed with the assessment. Based on everything they had heard, under his leadership, Ethan's group had become the very best at going into the more heavily overrun areas of the Southeast and rescuing people who'd been stupid enough to get trapped among the infected. Ethan Bennett was damned good at what he did, and it was obvious that Ethan Bennett was one stubborn son of a bitch. Avi and her colleagues had spent the last 3 months trying to track this man's location down. They'd collected intelligence from the broadcast through the ham radios, and when they discovered just how difficult it was to get in touch with Ethan and his group directly, and because of their general fear of being overheard doing so, they'd secretly sent out scouts into suspected areas where his group might have resided. Avi herself had volunteered to check the areas immediately around Montgomery, Alabama. She had traveled through the same infected areas through which Ethan was rumored to have been, with nothing but her thoughts, worries, and stresses to keep her company, unable to contact her compatriots for updates and further intel, doing everything she could to avoid those things at all costs. She'd risked her life to find the man, not knowing if she'd ever see her friends and family again. And his insults were the last things she needed to hear. She really should have expected it, though. Everything she'd been able to gather about Ethan Bennett told her the man had a chip on his shoulder larger than a city block. She still wondered what compelled 6 seemingly sane individuals to not only accept his leadership, but to stay under it, even when they'd likely had other opportunities present themselves in the past year. Avi had known the moment she'd finally laid eyes on this man that it would take more than sweet talk to crack his hard-as-nails exterior. Convincing Ethan of her need for his help might even be impossible. She willingly acknowledged that what she was asking him to do was incredibly stupid, dangerous, and suicidal. But she had to try. She and her friends needed to find someone willing to help, someone good enough to get into the city and stay in one piece, someone capable of keeping other survivors alive during transport, someone as recognizable to the survivors, even if just a name, as Ethan Bennett. As far as she could tell, there wasn't anyone better qualified than this man and his team outside of the city of Atlanta, not for the job she needed him to do. She repeated this like a mantra, hoping that would help her keep her story straight. She didn't need to screw up and reveal too much. Not now. No, I can't say I am insane, Avi finally replied. She kept her voice mild, and she didn't allow her gaze to flicker from Ethan's face. Now...